It is day 257 of the second Trump administration and day 3 of the government shutdown. But before we bring in our nightcap, you know what time it is. I do want to start with breaking news this evening. Hamas said today that it agrees to release all Israeli hostages, a major part of the president's peace plan for Gaza. Hamas says it is ready to immediately enter into negotiations to discuss the details of the deal. The president released a statement saying the following, quote, "I believe they are ready for lasting peace. Israel must immediately stop the bombing of Gaza so that we can get the hostages out safely and quickly." Next week marks 2 years since those hostages were taken by Hamas during its attack on Israel that also left more than 1,000 dead. Tens of thousands of people have died in Gaza since then. I want to bring in Susan Glasser, staff writer for The New Yorker. Susan, this is very big news. Hamas did not say they agreed to the full peace plan, so what should we know?
Yeah, the key part of that headline there that you just showed, Steph, is pending conditions. This is known in the Middle East as the yes, but response. And I think it is an important moment, perhaps an opportunity, as I know millions of people around the world would hope that it is an opportunity for peace. But what it is right now is a yes, but. And it suggests that Hamas is willing to go into negotiations that might establish the conditions. It's not clear yet from their statement exactly which parts of the 20-point peace plan they agree to, which they don't. They did say they're not ready to release the hostages under the 72-hour time clock that was initially mentioned as part of President Trump's proposal. But I do think that this response from Hamas, combined with President Trump appearing to accept it, now puts a lot of pressure back on Israel and its Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. How will they respond?
Whose deal is this really, right? We're calling it Trump's deal, but is it the U.S. administration? Is it Steve Witkoff? Or is this really Netanyahu and Hamas leaders that are basically living in Qatar?
Look, Steph, in the end, if there is a deal, and this is not a deal, it will have to be ultimately a deal between Hamas and Israel. The United States can serve as a guarantor. It can push the parties to the table, which is what it's done so far. It can do many things to make a deal happen. But in the end, these two parties who have no mutual trust, who are in a state of almost all-out war with each other, they're the ones who have to make a deal. And that's why I say it's not yet a deal. It's the possibility of a deal. And, you know, in the Middle East, so many people have been up to this point before, and they know that from here on in, that's when the bargaining happens. I remember well doing our book on the former Secretary of State, Jim Baker, spent a lot of time in the Middle East. And, you know, there was always a point in the negotiations where he had to slam his fist on the table and say, both to the Israelis and the Palestinians, you know, the souk is closed.
All right, Susan, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. Now to the other big story this week, of course, the government shutdown. It is now expected to last until at least next week. That is because the Senate vote to fund the government, well, it failed again today. And they will not be voting on anything, of course, until Monday. Meanwhile, the House canceled all votes next week with no plans to return until the middle of October. Democrats and Republicans continue to blame one another with zero resolution in sight. Caught in the middle? Us. Hundreds of thousands of Americans, but most specifically federal workers, working without pay, furloughed or worse, facing possible permanent layoffs. With that, get ready. We've got a great nightcap for you. Tim Miller is here in person, host of the Bulwark podcast and former communications director for Republican Jeb Bush. Steve Leisman is here, CNBC senior economics reporter. He is the absolute best at what we do. We're lucky when he comes. Mary Harris joins us, host and managing editor of Slate's daily news podcast, What's Next, and former New York Democratic Congressman Max Rose. He is now a senior advisor to Vote Vets. Max, Democrats are making the showdown all about health care. What do you think of this strategy? Because there are big risks. The American people already don't feel like the government works for them. They don't have a lot of confidence in Congress. And when they see this and when the shutdown makes its way through the system, I'm not sure that they blame anybody. They're just mad at government.
Yeah, maybe. But really what they're mad at right now is the fact that Donald Trump is taking away their health care. And in so many ways right now, I feel like the Republicans
Hold on, they being Democrats or they being the American people?
They being the American people are upset that Donald Trump is taking away their health care.
Do they know he is?
Well, they will soon. And this is my, the principal point here, which is actually in many ways the Democrats are doing a massive favor for Donald Trump that the Republicans would never do for the Democrats when they're in power. In essence, what the Democrats are doing is they're saying, we are going to take out from your horrendous, big, beautiful bill these disastrous, destructive, and really mean health care cuts, and we're going to give you an opportunity to reinstate them. We're going to give you an opportunity to bring back ACA subsidies. We're going to give you an opportunity to keep hospitals open and restore Medicaid. You can do that and keep all the other bad stuff because we actually put the people first. Now, Donald Trump is still going to say no because I don't think he cares about the people in this particular instance. But this is never something Republicans would do. Remember how they treated the border bill? Right? They said, no, we're not going to have any level of bipartisan compromise. We want to keep the border issue as it is because all we care about is politics. If all the Democrats cared about was politics right now, they would just let this simmer until the midterms.
So let it simmer. Pass the budget. Let the American people experience Trump's big, beautiful bill, which means they lose their health care?
Yeah.
So
that's an interesting take.
I think this is the same way that I'm thinking about this, which is in context of the historic tectonic realignment that's happened in our time with the poor and working class. In 2020, our CNBC All-America Economic Survey found that the poor and working class broke for Biden plus 11. In 2024, they broke for Trump plus 16.
Wow.
Okay? The poor and working class are now Donald Trump's responsibility. What the former congressman said over there is 100% correct. However, I would only add the following. You cannot go say that we are for you if you did not try to do what the Democrats are doing now, which is to save the health care before they lose it. Had they not done what they're doing now, they would have a very poor case to say, come back home and we will give you the health care that we have promised you and that you've always looked to us for. So this idea of this shift, I think, is the way to think about it. I don't know that Donald Trump has thought this through quite this way, but I think this is the way the Democrats are considering it.
We have some smart people on the nightcap tonight.
Okay, but should this fight be over health care? Like, I get the idea, which is people are about to get these notifications, their premiums are going to go up, and that will create an incentive here for people to negotiate theoretically. But how do you make a deal with people who are going to rip that deal up? It's just fact at this point that it's not Congress controlling the appropriation of money. It's Donald Trump. And so you need to solve some real fundamental issues before you can make a deal. And right now, the sort of outside voice talking point is health care. But what they really need to be talking about is the fact that our system of government is breaking down. We have someone who's grabbing power and destroying our system of government to do it.
Tim, weigh in here, because Republicans are framing this as Democrats don't care about you. They just want to give free health care to undocumented immigrants. Yeah. And I can go on TV every day and walk through how the law works, the federal blah, 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 blah. And people are going to say, no, go to an emergency room and they are filled with illegal immigrants, blah, 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 blah. How should Democrats be playing this, or what's your take on this whole thing?
Well, the Republican message is a lie, but it's a clear and easy message, right? Yeah. And it's a simple one, and it's one that people understand. It's something that Trump has been good at throughout his career. The Democrats...
And it works because it's really, you're struggling. The Democrats want to help the others.
Yeah, I guess I have a view about this that is, you're not supposed to have on these cable news panels, but it's Friday night, which is...
First of all, that's not true.
I don't think that anybody next November is going to think one way or the other about this government shutdown at all. There might be a handful of people who are actually hurt by it, right? If you lost your job because you get furloughed and they don't ever hire you back, you might be mad at the administration. Or you might decide you're mad at Democrats. But
that's how it worked.
Yeah, most voters aren't really weighing in on the fight between Mike Johnson and Donald Trump and Hakeem Jeffries. Most voters aren't watching any of Hakeem Jeffries' speeches or Mike Johnson's speeches. So what is actually going to matter next year is the economy good? Are they feeling tangible pain? And do they feel like the Democrats are fighting for them? And on that last point, that's the Democrats' job here. It's kind of like, I actually really don't care what fight they pick. They need to demonstrate to people that they're fighting for them. They need to do it succinctly. They need to do it a lot and aggressively. And I was watching Fox on the plane up here, And it's like a different universe over there. I mean, there's no Democrats to be seen on the network, and they're blaming the Democrats for all this. And they're, and so to me, it's like the Democrats got to pick whatever they want to fight on, go into all these places. Whoa, watch out! It's Friday night. Go into all these places and fight about it, and demonstrate that they're fighting for regular people and that Donald Trump doesn't care about them. I mean, that's a pretty simple message to me.
Donald Trump is displaying he doesn't care on his own, by the way. I mean, we've all seen the video, the AI video he released on Truth Social, where he has Russ Vought, his budget director, with essentially like an axe, like, we're going to come after you. That's the thing I don't get about their messaging right now, which is like, yes, we are going to be the angels of death for the government. Is that a popular message? I'm not sure. This is the first gleeful shutdown.
Depends on what Donald Trump's playing for here. I mean, are we playing for 26? Are we playing for 28? Does he need to keep his coalition together? It just stands to reason that the poor and the working class are the ones who would rely most on the government that is being shut down and the services being taken away. So this is not going to be a good look, and I think it will matter if these services go away and it creates real pain, especially come 26.
Then Max, let's go to what Russ Vought and Donald Trump want to do. Donald Trump, who, of course, we talked all about Project 2025 during the campaign, and Donald Trump said, don't even know what it is, and now it's the centerpiece of this administration. If Russ Vought gets his wish and fires all these people and cuts all these programs, how is that a political win?
It's not, and they learned that with Elon Musk, right? Cutting personnel isn't a win. One, there are horror stories left and right. 50% of the federal workforce are veterans. But secondly, there's calamitous impacts on the economy.
It's an ideological win, though. It's not. They're not trying to be politically popular. Their whole program is dismantling the administrative state. That's what Steve Bannon said. That's what Russ Vought said before he comes in. So they're getting what they want. I mean, sure, it might not be popular, but do they care about that?
I don't think that's what's happening right now. I think they are making every effort humanly imaginable to make this not about health care. Right? Because the truth, just to your point, right, cutting people's health care is not popular. Cutting Medicaid is not popular because of these demographic shifts and where the political bases are.
Complaining that somebody else is going to take your health care. Yeah. That's the thing that's worked. So I want to throw one more piece of data on the table.
Bring it.
Which I think is important. MAGA is a minority. I think Disney found that out.
Oh, my God.
MAGA is a minority. They have huge power. MAGA is in power right now, but MAGA is a 26-30% minority in the U.S. Political structure right now. And they have a lot of power, but they don't have a lot of numbers. And I think this is what the structure becomes. You take your MAGA, and what can you add to it? And if they lose this healthcare debate, I think they lose a big part of the coalition.
I don't think they care about the healthcare debate. I'm sorry, I don't think they care about it. Donald Trump didn't talk about healthcare on the campaign trail. Donald Trump doesn't have a healthcare plan. He had concepts of a plan. What they're trying to do with this shutdown is their whole program. It's an authoritarian program. He's trying to take over more and more of the government. They're going to use this as an excuse to fire people that aren't loyalists, to fire people that work in programs that they don't care about. There's a lot of programs in the government they don't want to fund. Russ Vought put it all out in paper. And so it's two different fights. Like, the Democrats are fighting about health care and having a messaging fight, and the Republicans have a one-sentence response to it, which is you want to give illegals health care. But what a Republican's actual strategy has nothing to do with health care. It is about taking control of the federal government and putting more power in the hands of the executive. That's what he's trying to do.
And why are Republicans in Congress on board for that? Right? Like, if I'm John Thune and others, why am I saying, yes, dear leader, you can have more power?
Because that's how John Thune has power. Has John Thune been against Trump on anything? I forgot John Thune was majority leader, kind of.
But I'm saying,
a couple days ago,
but this is what I don't get about Republicans in Congress. Why are they giving up their power to him?
Because their power comes from him right now. It comes from their voters. All these guys in Congress, their biggest fear is being Jeff Flake. God love Jeff Flake, but he's working back in Arizona. He's working at Arizona State, I think. He's got a program. He's not in the mix. He doesn't have the pin anymore. Like, that's what they're worried about. Anybody that spoke out against Trump is out, and so they're all riding with him until that doesn't work.
This argument that Republicans are making, we can't possibly extend tax cuts permanently, but they do it when it comes for corporate tax cuts. So, like, what's the rationale even?
I don't have a trouble squaring all that. That seems pretty simple to me. You need to give all of these corporate tax cuts to the corporations in order to, in their minds, create jobs and economic growth. And you can always cut off and otherwise eliminate subsidies for poor people. I mean, they don't have a logical problem with that. And there is an issue, if you want to go sort of deep on this, which is permanent versus temporary. Mm-hmm. The Republican economic program, and the place where the Democrats have never, in my mind, captured the American public. We are going to get to a place of smaller government, where these programs will eliminate the need for the programs. The Democrats have always sold, generally, programs forever. They never come forward and say, if we do this for 10 years or 5 years or 10 years, 20 years, we can get rid of this program. I don't think the Republican program works, but the sales job is quite.
But isn't this idea of small government?
Elegant.
But isn't this idea of small government a fallacy? Because while you have Republicans saying we want small government, the very same week you have Donald Trump's top
Giving
trade
subsidies to
negotiator.
farmers.
We're going to get to that, but giving his top trade negotiator in New York saying the U.S. government wants a piece of every successul company in America.
This is where I think Tim is wrong.
You know what? You have all the time to speak right now.
No.
We're going to get you a second microphone.
I think Donald Trump cares about health care. I think he cares about I think we need to study Huey Long more than any conservative to understand Donald Trump's economics and his politics. It's strictly populist. And I think he may end up caring about the health care just the way he ended up caring about he will end up caring about the farmers, giving them a subsidy. These are my people. They voted for me. I'm going to give them money.